For me, it's a pleasure to be here today with this very important panel. I mean, it's a great opportunity to have these four experts on the matter here, and for me, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me today. Okay, let's start with this, and let's give the opportunity to listen very important topics. Then I would like to start this first question talking about the role of the automotive sector in Mexico's technological ecosystem. And I would like to ask to David Pineda, how important is the presence of automotive R&D centers for the growth of the national tech ecosystem? Please.
Gracias, Raúl. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys. Pleasure to be here. Well, the role of R&D centers, I wouldn't limit the answer to just automotive R&D, but in general R&D, for me is clear, and that the word is a lighthouse. At the end, any strategy needs a goal, needs a definition of where do we want to be. And R&D centers R&D centers in Mexico allow us to understand, because we develop it, because we do it, understand what's in the horizon, what's the future, in this case, of the automotive industry, of mobility, because now we're gonna just say cars, it's about mobility, it's about business, it's about the ecosystem that at the end it surrounds the term mobility. So from my perspective, it is clear that R&D centers work as a lighthouse to define by understanding what we do, how we do it, and what's for the next 10, 20 years, bring this knowledge to the ecosystem that we have, to the triple helix as we know it. For example, we know this term, academia, we have the industry, we have the government, to help define where the strategies that allow us to actually use this term national tech ecosystem, where this strategy has to move forward, which have to be the goals. For example, one of the key factors is talent. The development of talent cannot just be an isolated topic because so a professor woke up some morning and defined, okay, I think we need our people to know this or know that. That cannot be really a strategy. So us, R&D centers, we bring this knowledge, we understand what's the critical knowledge for the future, and by sharing this knowledge with the academia in this case, with the government in this triple helix dynamic, we allow the definition of strategies that at the end will define success, ideally, of these technology strategies. Yeah? One example, very recently, actually 1 week ago, we are very proud because Tata, the automotive maker, OEM in India, released a new vehicle, the Harrier electrical vehicle. This is state-of-the-art, 100% SUV, electrical SUV, that cost in Mexican pesos 417,000 pesos, so very competitive, and that has a system called the summon mode. So you have the key fob, you press a button, and the car drives it by itself, gets closer to you, and picks you up. So we are very proud because this system was, a significant part of this system was developed here in Querétaro, with talent, knowledge, and experience developed here in Querétaro. And at the end, this talent, part of this talent was created by the interaction that we had many years ago to really develop the knowledge that at the end is showing these results. So this is the first summon mode, this is the first system for Tata, and we are stakeholders in the development of this technology. So this is an example of how, by having an R&D center, in this case, by sharing this knowledge of what's strategically regarding talent, we can bring this type of innovations to markets like India. Yeah? A different question, which I'm not going to answer now, but maybe in the following questions, is why don't we have that capability in Mexico? That's a very different question, but I will allow my colleagues to answer the questions as well. Yeah?
Thank you, David. I think that very, I will go with you. Please. I think the very, very important points that you mentioned, I mean, alignment and goals, to go to the future and develop this national tech ecosystem. Then I think that's very, very important comments. Thank you, David. And I would like to ask Marco, please, your comments and your thoughts on this same question, please.
Sure, I'm aligned with David first. Just take the example, right? I mean, 10 years ago, probably Querétaro was only Telmex doing innovation, research, development. And now we have all of our companies here and more located. And in Mexico, even more, right? Guadalajara, Monterrey. So this trend is because it is important, right? To have this as the minister, right, of sustainability was saying, it's important that we now design the buttons, right? That we have this perimeter cover and providing more opportunities for employment for our people and our engineers. So I think this is quite relevant, right? And for instance, this is why one of the reasons Valeo is betting, right, on Querétaro as the right place, having the right talent with the top universities here to develop, right, the technologies and the innovation of the future, right?
Thank you, Marco. Very, very important what you mentioned, right? Not just push the button, design the button. And I think that's very important. And I would like to end this question asking Abraham for his comments, please.
So, first of all, thank you for the invitation for me. It's an honor to be in front of people like you with such very professionals as well as the leaders that are here with me. So, I would like to mention that it's very important to have the R&D centers in here because I think we all would like to see the future, right? So if we are able to really manage the let's say, the uncertainty that we are living, we would like to have the opportunity to see the future. So one small or either small or big window to the future are the R&D centers. We are able to really shape what is happening in the future. Something that we have been seeing, maybe most of the companies that we currently have R&D centers in here, we started with manufacturing. And most of the decisions were taken somewhere else. And also we were open, basically we mostly were focusing on providing that labor to really build something. When we start shifting and start having small groups developing and creating technology, is when we start really to see the future and start shaping the organizations in Mexico, start developing different type of talent, and that has been starting to position ourselves in there. But I think if we really want to continue to look and be part of shaping the future, we have to really put place more focus into the R&D centers. I have maybe several examples of my own experience leading a team on the R&D side, where I think we really can continue to discuss more on that. So I think my takeaways from here is that it's the opportunity to really jump into the future while developing.
Yeah. Thank you, Ram. And we will talk more about the future in the next questions. Then thank you for the comments, Ram. And I would like to move to the second topic, talking about innovation and technological transformation. And I would like to ask to Jorge Vasquez, please, Jorge, what are the main disruptive technologies being developed or adopted in Mexico, like electrification, software-defined vehicles, connectivity, etc.?
Yeah, thank you for inviting me here. I just would like to add a little bit more about the former question, because something that is, from my perspective, also enriching of having the R&D centers here in Mexico is that the people is closer to the beginning of the chain. And the people is now being trained and have been showing throughout the years that we have the capability to develop, to do more than just manufacturing. And even we have the capability to do more inside the companies. We can start creating this entrepreneurship environment that eventually will turn into the new companies that will shape the future even more from Mexico. So to me, that's also something that is nice. It's not just having the centers inside the companies, it's how they connect to the outside, to the surroundings, to create an environment that can really create these possibilities for the future. And eventually we can have companies that every company started small and eventually they grow. So probably in the future, in 20, 50 years, people that are sitting here now, they will be leading some type of technology out of Mexico with their own company or something like that. Just not to be redundant, but to also include that part. Talking about innovation and what is shaping the technology in automotive, most of us believe that the technology in automotive or the automobile is going to be electrical, connected, autonomous, and reprogrammable. Yeah? And that means that at the end, what is going to happen is that we are going to be something that is going to be closer to the type of mobile devices that we use than the cars that we are using now. And to me, that's something that is really a game changer. We were a little bit discussing last night about some new events that recently happened, of how the evolution of the industry has happened in the last years. The intensiveness of using software inside the vehicles and how the vehicles are going to be reshaped because of that. There is a very strong belief of most of these companies that are sitting here that we have to continue installing modules inside the vehicles with the intention that they can communicate to each other and eventually that they can cooperate and fulfill complex functions. But the reality is that we are at this moment, from my perspective, in a moment in the history of the automotive where this paradigm could be broken, and then we can start seeing something different. We are seeing the dynamic of companies like the Chinese companies, that they are not completely based on AutoSAR, for example, which is the base of most of the things that we are doing, because now they are being highly concentrated in high-performing computers centrally that are managing several type of zones, or that they are managing different type of areas or features in the vehicle. And that creates a different approach that is more close to what is in the consumer electronics world than in the automotive, which we haven't been able to manage well in general as an automotive industry. We are struggling, and we have seen many attempts and recently announcements of companies, very important companies like Caria, like Ford, that they have phased out activities that they have been founding for years with billions of dollars because they didn't succeed. So we are not ready yet for that, and this is a very interesting point because the value chain is moving towards the places where the more difficulties or the more complexity is being managed. And this is where the complexity is now. So how are we going to face that? How we are going to challenge the situation? I think is going to be very well redefining who's playing what in the automotive industry. At this moment, we are facing a moment of redefinition. And what is going to happen in the next years probably is not what we are seeing now in the automotive industry. And this is okay, because that is what we need to face. But this is the great opportunity for many to reposition themselves in a place where still is a little bit foggy, or it's not well understood how we are going to manage that complexity. And that's the opportunity for many to really start defining what's going to be the rule starting from there. So that's, from my perspective, the interesting part of the type of moment that we are living in automotive industry with all this complexity that we are living.
Thank you very much for the really interesting comments. And I would like to ask David to give us, please, your opinion about this question. Please, your thoughts.
My pleasure, Raul. I remember about 10 years ago, I was starting what we know now within Continental Automotive as the Autonomous Mobility Organization. The organization that was going to be and is responsible here in Mexico to develop technology for autonomous driving, and all the systems that surround this type of this concept. Yeah? And I remember being invited to a very important forum in Monterrey to have a speech, give a speech, and as part of a discussion panel with other leaders within the industry related to autonomous mobility. Yeah? At that time, we were saying by 2025, you are going to go to the dealership and you will be able to buy a fully autonomous car. Yeah? I remember that was what the industry was talking about. That was the pitch. I had my doubts, and I actually, although colleagues in that panel didn't agree with me, I always understood that the future at that moment, and I think now as well, the most prominent future for autonomous driving is not in passenger cars. It is in commercial vehicles, because that's where the business model really makes sense. If we want a car to drive itself in very limited situations, because the technology now allows publicly just the car to drive itself in very limited conditions, we're talking about an increase in car price about $20,000, $15,000. So who's going to pay for that? Yeah? This is not going to be us. This is not going to be me. I'm not going to pay for a car that drives itself in slow traffic and pay $15,000. I'm not going to do it. Yeah. But if I have a truck fleet, and if I'm able with this technology to reduce my cost and then have a business case, that's what's going to make a difference. And why do I make all this comment? Because we are working, and I'm very proud. If you haven't noticed, I'm very proud of what we do here in R&D Mexico, in Continental. We are developing the mobility of the future. We have a team here working on a project called the Aurora project, which is the future of the truck driving system. There will be, by 2027, a fleet of trucks in the south of the US, specifically in Texas, that will have a highly automated driving functions, level 4 functions, that will allow extra hours of driving or driving without the driver. So this is going to be a fantastic situation because the business case is there. Why is this disruptive? We have been talking about this for years now, yeah? But this level 4 technology, this is going to be new, first. And second, the business model is very interesting because this is not us selling sensors, yeah? But this is going to be a service. For every mile that you auto drive, you're going to pay for that. So the disruption is not only on the technology, but as well is on the business model itself. So this is what we are shaping here proudly from Querétaro. Specifically, the team that's working here is working on what we call a minimum risk maneuver. What happens if the main brain of the truck fails? At the end, if we're talking about level 4, the truck needs to have the capability to stop by itself. Level 4 means driver is not needed in some conditions. So this minimum risk maneuver allows a second and smallest brain, let's call it that way, a second system to take control of the truck, and allow the truck to just stop safely beside the road, fully, of course, autonomously. Yeah? So this is the type of technology that we are currently developing from Querétaro, from Mexico, and as I mentioned, this is shaping the future of mobility.
Thank you, David. Really important and really incredible how the technology and innovation is happening. I mean, incredible, the fast and time, as you mentioned, Jorge, also incredible. And I would like to end this question asking Marco, please, for your comment.
Sure, thank you, Raul. Well, as Jorge and David are commenting, this is definitely redefining, right? These disruptive technologies are redefining the automotive business and the new electromobility. And we think in Valio are here now and are being adopted and are giving opportunities, right, to develop, right, and to be part together with the OEMs and with other key partnerships on these new technologies development, right? And for instance, we at Valio, we're working closely with Verizon on vehicle-to-vehicle communication enhancement, and we are having other partnerships like with FLIR on thermal imaging systems to enhance the vision in the night and be able to have a safer autonomous driving, right? For like David was commenting, for robotaxis or commercial vehicles. So these kind of opportunities will not be there without these disruptive technologies, right? And we in Valio believe that in three things, right? The car will be based on software, for sure, right? This is a key trend. The car will be electric, and the car will be autonomous, right? So these are key principles on our strategy and how we see the electromobility of the future.
Thank you, Mike. Very, very, very interesting comments. Let's. I will pass this. Thank you. Okay, let's move for at least for me, one of the most interesting parts of this panel, and it's to talk about the future ambition. And I would like to ask to Abraham, please Abraham, help us. Which technologies do you believe will define automotive development over the next 10 years? And what role should Mexico play in that future?
Thank you. So, I think we have already been talking about software-defined vehicles. We all know about the electrification, and with electrification comes what will be the differentiation of the vehicles from now. So, in the past, we used to think that when we were getting a car, the differentiation was the engine, because when we were talking about it, hey, my is 4 cylinders, 6 cylinders, it's able to reach 100 kilometers per hour in a certain amount of time. Now, with electrification, that is no longer differentiation. The differentiation comes now into the cabin experience. So everything that surrounds the cabin experience is what is going to define, let's say, the future for the automotive. So what I can maybe share in Harman is we are doing a lot of effort to really place us in there. So we are developing new, what we call spaces. So and those spaces are basically, in some of the cases, focusing on ensuring the safety when you are driving. So we are adding sensors to measure the attention of the driver. We are also reviewing. We are also adding some ADAS features to basically enhance also the experience by making them more aware about their surroundings. That is maybe kind of a general solution right now. But on top of that, we are adding on-demand updates. So we are also having this, what we call ready products. What does it mean is that in general, the fantasy for the automotive has been that we have already a product that is ready to go. And if you go to CES, you're going to see a lot of programs or products in there that they are pitching that they are ready or they are not. So most of what we are seeing in CES is something that is going to be ready in 2 years. What we are now focusing is really to have products that will be ready now. So that what we are called ready products, so you can really go experience it, and then in 2-3 months you can have it in your car. It sounds still like a fantasy because it's not that easy. But if we really start changing the way we develop, trying to speed up our development cycles, we will be able to reach that. One of the other technologies that I think we so far have been playing with, but not really taking that seriously, is AI. So we started using AI to change pictures from normal to maybe anime pictures of all that. And that was kind of the just beginning. But when you start really playing with that and using that maybe to speed up the analysis of maybe your chunk of emails that you have in there, then you start to see the power that's in there. And imagine that you give those kind of tools properly with the right level of background for a very talented engineer, so you can do really speed up and create solution designs that can really speed up the development. So my point there, I think really AI for me is like something that is blowing my mind, and I think if we really take that advantage and we enable that for development, we can really speed up a lot of things in here.
Thank you, Abraham. Really interesting to hear what for you is the fantasy that you can imagine for us. I mean, for you as an expert in R&D, and I mean, it's incredible things that are happening, and every day are happening more quick than what we expected, right? I mean, things are changing so fast. And I would like to ask Jorge his opinion on this.
Yeah, I believe that's something that is going to be driving the innovation in the next years is the user experience in general. Not just how you interact with the vehicle, but what you feel inside the vehicle. And for that, some example that we can have is the situation of a vehicle that is probably adapting to the type of road that we are seeing. So internally, it's manipulating many systems inside, in combination with sensors that are detecting what is happening in the surroundings. This is something that we have at CEREF, and we are developing part of it, which is called cubics, in combination with steer-by-wire, brake-by-wire, and perception cameras that are around the vehicles. And the idea is that we can enhance much more what we are living as a user. The complexity still is a challenge, and I still see it every day, that we have user interfaces that we don't take really advantage of everything that is there, very complicated to identify how they install a feature over there. Once that we start really adapting the technology to the real needs, and it's seamless to the user, is where we are going to be breaking the adoption of many technologies. Because at the end, the configuration of this type of technologies is still complex, and just to make the basic configuration for an adaptive cruise control is not a matter that anyone in the room can do. Probably most of the engineers can do, but not necessarily all of them, I would say. I have struggled with some cars doing that. But the idea is how we reduce that complexity, probably with AI, probably with the combination of reprogrammable devices that can identify the type of roads that you are going to be driving, and you don't even realize that it's going to change, and things like that is what is opening the possibilities that we don't see in the future. By having a vehicle that can be reprogrammed is a similar situation that we faced 18 years ago when the first iPhone was launched, when the only one application that we were using was this beer that you were kind of making fun that you were drinking, and then you could see that is driving. A very useless application. But if you compare what you had at that time, what you can envision at that time, to what we are living now with the mobile phones, and the type of applications, the connection that it has to our day-to-day life, the same will be the vehicle. We cannot even imagine at this moment what could be the type of applications and the evolution of those applications that will make our life more easy and less complex, and at the end with less accidents, fatal accidents on the road, and with a situation that can enhance by far much more to what we have now, the experience that we're having inside the vehicle. And that's where CEREF is really putting a lot of efforts, and many of the people is working on those type of systems that eventually is a combination of mechatronic devices with electronic devices that at the end create that complete experience as well.
Thank you, Jorge. And to close this question, I would like to ask David for your comments.
Gracias, Raúl. Abraham mentions AI. You mentioned, Jorge, the interaction, the complexity of the interaction, the UX, and I want to complement with other two factors which I consider are relevant if we talk about what's going to shape the future of the vehicles and the development of the vehicles. And I will start with connectivity. Connectivity is already a very relevant factor. It is in an very early stage. And when I talk connectivity, I don't mean only the cloud with the vehicle. I also refer to vehicles with other vehicles with infrastructure. I believe the capability and the potential for the improvement of mobility in general of this type of connected systems is something we are starting to dream. Yeah? The potential is just is going to be a life-changing topic. Yeah? But connectivity has complexities. We, for example, are experiencing complexities and challenges like having customers that have the capability to do over-the-air updates. And these customers contacting us because they see something weird in a product. And when we start asking what's happening, they don't even know what's happening. They know it's just something weird because the car is connecting to their infrastructure, and it's basically calling them, telling them there's something weird. So it's working with the customer to understand without having any physical unit. You know, before, if we had an issue, the person drove to the dealer and the part was changed and we got the part and we were able to review the part. But with this connectivity that opens then the challenge to really understand remotely what's happening at the car, which is easier said than done. Yeah? I thought it was easy, it isn't. So this is one of the challenges of connectivity, yeah, that opens connectivity. Connectivity also defines or opens a challenge in relation to data management, and opens a challenge and a potential in relation to monetizing data. So business models are going to change. The way we interact with the vehicle is, of course, going to change. The way they get money from us is going to change. And this is going to, at the end, because OEMs, the car industry, the mobility industry is a business. So business is going to drive a lot of this development of the technology. And I got the 1 minute time there. So I don't want to avoid talking about sustainability. I believe that we are not doing enough effort to drive our designs based on what we want in regards of sustainability. And we have very large differences between the different OEMs pushing for this trend and pushing for the development of sustainable products. So I also think that sustainability is going to be a shaper in regards of the development of the technology, the cars and the mobility of the future as we want it and as we know it at this moment. Yeah.
Thank you, David. Thank you very much. Thank you for your comments. And to continue talking about future and vision, I would like to ask to Marco, please, how should Mexico be positioned on the global map of technological innovation by 2030? Both talking about automotive and non-automotive. Marco, please.
Sure. Thank you, Robert. Well, very interesting and challenging question. I will divide my answer into steps. First, I think the R&D centers are giving now the opportunity to Mexico to compete at the global level, right, with other countries such as China or other regions. And this opportunity, of course, is because not only the proximity with the US, I think we have other factors like the universities, the talent, right, that are being available, right, for this kind of new trends, right, and new disciplines. And not only creating, this is creating not only new jobs, but better remuneration, right, on those jobs. And because there are disciplines that are totally new, like cybersecurity, product safety, and others. So this creates opportunity. I think Mexico is well positioned, again, with this solid foundation, having a lot of universities in different cities, not only here in Querétaro, focusing on these new trends, right? But now the second part. The second part is, okay, 2030. 2030 is already very, very close to us, and I think that we need to accelerate, right? As a country, we are not doing enough. I was reading the other day a figure, which is how much we invest as part of our PDP in research, and it's only 0.3% of our GDP. I mean, other countries are doing 2, 3, even 4% like US. So we are very far away from that. So if we really want to position Mexico as a leader by 2030, we need to catch up, we need to accelerate, and we need to work together like our Minister of Sustainability was commenting, right? This, in these three axes, right? For sure the private, the companies, the government, and the institutions, meaning the universities, right? So that we can position Mexico as a leader, really, right? We can be there, we can be in the mix, we can be part of the development of the new technologies, but really to lead will require this additional step.
Thank you, Marco. Abraham, if you can help us with your comments, please.
For sure, thank you for the question. So I would like to start with who we are. So who we are in Mexico on the R&D side. So we still not a really key player, to be honest. But I wanted to tell you, I had the honor to, in the last 2 years, to have a global role. So I have teams in Japan, Korea, China, India, the US, Germany, Hungary. And I've been able to really go in all those places and get to know the development and the talent in there. So I can tell you, we are better than all of them. So the Mexican talent, the capabilities, the drive, the passion, the curiosity is a benchmark. Yeah. So we have the talent, we have the capabilities. No one else is better than us, to be honest. So I can really sense the drive. It's when you just convince them about what we can achieve, then we make the change, and we are really top notch on regards to talent. And how do we should position? When we talk about Mexico, I think we release the responsibility, and we shouldn't do that. So when we talk about how I can position myself, then I can position my team, my company, so we can really be the leaders. So we never think about like, hey, the government should do those decisions. Not at all. They won't solve this. We are the ones that can really drive the change, and we are the ones that can really earn new businesses, develop new things. So for sure, we really need to start developing an environment with the universities, with the companies, with the government. For sure, we have to work together. So we are competitors company-wise, but we should be friends, and we have to collaborate to really develop the environment. And if we really, where I would love to be there, so I really would like that we start really exporting patents, exporting technology, developing technology. We have the talent, we have the capabilities. Sometimes we don't have the drive, and sometimes we release the responsibility to others, and that is where I think we should make the change. You hear the people that is in this room, you can really bring more business, you can really develop new things. What is on you is that you really change your mind and start going outside and really start embracing and convincing others to do something different. But if we just come here, listen, and then it was a good talk, we won't change the world. I really would consider that the more we trust in ourselves, I can tell you the capabilities are there, and the more we start really embracing and pushing and being consistent with discipline, and it's not about motivation, it's really about discipline. If we are persistent and we have the discipline, we can really position our country where it should be, and that's the goal.
Thank you, Ron. Yeah, and I think it's very important. We already talk about alignment and collaboration, right? I mean, Jorge, please, if you can give us your comments.
You know, this question is a little bit makes me upset a little bit, because 5 years from now is if we just continue what we are doing, we're going to have probably more R&D centers from different companies, because at this moment we are facing a transformation in the industry, and we're going to have more people doing R&D, which is not bad, but it's not good as well. I mean, people who is in these centers, they are going to be well paid, but this is not what we want, at least not myself. When I started working in R&D 27 years ago, and we start developing the first initiatives to create a change, is what start creating the seed of a complete generation of people who was going to be positioned in the different centers eventually. Yeah, we passed that already, but I believe in the talent of the people. Yeah, I know that we are here are talented. I don't believe in the decision makers that are outside the companies, like universities, like government, that they just talk but they don't do anything. I mean, we need to really start doing transformation from the ground with the intention of all of us that we are here, as Abraham mentioned, that we become influencers, that we create the change. Every one of us embrace the change and the anger to really show that we can do much more to what we are doing. If we just continue doing what we are doing, we're just going to see more people working in these centers, probably much more. But if we start changing ourselves and pushing the authorities, because I mean, libertarianism is not something that we need to make sure that we can combine this discussion with the government, and the government have the right incentives in place, what has done India, China, and many others, where we saw real actions, real plans aligned, not as a region. This is something that also upset me, that we believe that Querétaro or Guadalajara or Monterrey or whoever is going to make the change, we Mexico are going to make the change. And we need to make sure that we are aligned and we are really connecting a strategy that can help us to move forward in a direction that is not the obvious one. It is the one that we are really leading, and we are really making sure that there are execution that is happening and taking us over there. Unfortunately, I believe in this group of engineers that are working in the companies. My experience in the last 25 years is that the other part is a little bit comfortable to what is happening. And that's a shame. That's a shame because it's something that we need really to push forward to make sure that we create a change. Otherwise, if we continue being all comfortable, we need in our centers, universities teaching their classes as probably just impressing a little bit more effort, creating new careers, and the government's showing more often in events like this, but not doing really anything that really change the ground. That's not going to be a change. So we need to really start making us the agents of change and make sure that we are pushing the other parties that needs to be, that have a stake on this decision and in this action to make sure that we really create that change. 5 years is nothing. I mean, 5 years, they go really rapidly. But in 5 years, probably we can start developing the basement that can start expanding for the future, and the next generation is the one that is transforming what Mexico is facing in the future, and probably, why not? In the future, we see that the dependency on manufacturing, similar to China, they move from manufacturing to create technology and then start living. I think the only thing that we can do is really create a baseline, create just the foundations. If we do something, if we not just continue, we finish this discussion and then everybody start doing what they are doing every day, and we don't start pushing forward this transformation. It's a moment of transformation, and we need to take advantage of that.
Thanks for your comment. Very, very important comment that I think that we need to keep working on that and don't leave it there. I mean, more actions, more deeds, less words. Thank you, Jorge. I really appreciate the comment. And to end with this question, and unfortunately with this panel, because I think that all of us can keep listening these leaders for a long time, but we need to conclude. I would like to ask David to close this question, please.
I am not officially in the list of people that should answer this question, but it is important for me because, as I shared last week, Tata released a new vehicle with a new technology that was partially developed here from Mexico. So, digging into Tata, into the story of Tata, and actually, Jorge, aligned with what you just mentioned, we know we all have been talking about that. We have the capability, we have the talent, we have the people. Yeah? But why don't we have an electric SUV that costs 417,000 people accessible, 417,000 pesos, sorry, accessible in the market, developed 100% in Mexico? Because we lack a strategy. Querétaro, I love Querétaro. I love it so much that I decided to become Mexican because of Querétaro. Yeah? And one of the reasons is really the support and collaboration with the government, with the clusters. This is really the right environment. But I believe that the government in Querétaro they have their hands tied somehow because I'm going to get political here, sorry. But, wanting a car that whose top speed is 30 kilometers per hour, and I will give the name Olinia, that's not strategy. That's not strategy. Tata, I'm giving the example of Tata. I read about the story, I'm not going to share that here. But one of the key factors was the support and the strategy of the Indian government. And very recently, a few years ago, the Indian government started a strategy to push for the development and manufacturing of batteries in India. But it's not just someone stating, we will start it. They have a very interesting and deep technical definition of which batteries. It was interesting because I opened the PDF file and everything was in Hindi. I don't know what was written there, but I learned that just scrolling down, everything was in English as well. They're not just saying we want to develop batteries. They have the specifications, which batteries, technical specifications, which batteries are within the support that are should be developed for to let's say to receive this support from the government, and which batteries are not for an interest for the government from a technological perspective. So this is what I mean when I say strategy. It's not about just doing something, but really going strategically, technically into what do we need to be competitive in the future. This is something that we don't have here from a country level, and it's going to be extremely difficult to be where we want to be, where all of us and all of us here want to be, without this type of strategy support. We are swimming against the current, and that's the reality. Yeah. So yeah, just to not finish with such a bad note. And using your words, you are as well factors and beacons of change. What can you do about it? Who can you push? You have relationships with government, you have relationships with academia. You can also make a difference. So let's make a difference. I think we have the capability, I know that. Let's push so that we have a strategy, yeah, because we lack one. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. With this, we conclude this very interesting panel. I would like to thank Marco, Abraham, Jorge, David. Thank you very much to be here. Thank you for giving us your ideas, to share your vision. Really, it's so difficult to have these four leaders in the same panel, and I really appreciate that. I mean, it has been incredible.